Buckle up, everyone, and welcome to Carpool Rugby League, a show where two rugby league tragics talk everything rugby league on your way to and from work. I'm Shano.
And I'm the Chameleon.
Welcome aboard and on with the show. Chameleon, welcome to the show. As always, it's an honour to be sharing this show with you. We're at the nitty gritty now. This is one round from the finish. Finals not totally set, but pretty much set. A lot of computations to go into finalising the positionings. I suppose we'll go through last week. Apologies, listeners. We didn't have a podcast last week. I was a bit sick, so feeling a lot better now. And let's just go through what happened in round 26. On Thursday night, the Bulldogs beat a depleted Panthers side who rested their players 28-4. Warriors 22, some would think unluckily got beaten by the Eels 26, depending on what you think of the bunker call. Storm 10 in I want to say, I'm trying to find the right words to describe Bellamy after the match. He was very disappointed and gutted by the 40-point to nil drubbing in the end that the Roosters dished out. It's 40-10. They beat the Storm. Raiders are minor premiers, and congratulations to them. We're going to talk a little bit about that later. 24-10 over the West Tigers. Dragons 24, Sea Eagles 40 in a game that looked to deliver something, but Sea Eagles way too strong. Cowboys 30, Broncos 38. Broncos won that. I couldn't say they were 100% convincing. We have found out since then the recovery. We've heard of the bubble, we've heard of many things, but drinking dunny water is the newest thing coming out of Bronco land. The Sharks 40, Knights 16. Knights woes just continue. And Dolphins 36 beat the Titans 30. South Sydney Rabbitohs had the bye this week. Raiders announced our competition minor premiers number 1. Storm at the moment number 2. Bulldogs number 3. That's pretty much it. That's how it's. It cannot waver from there. The Dogs would have to win by, nearly 100, or win by 50. The Storm lose by 50. Either way, it's not going to happen. So, pretty much 1, 2, 3 set. Broncos 4th. You'd think set. Sharks 5th. Depending on what happens, could change. Warriors in 6th, Panthers in 7th, Roosters in 8th, Dolphins 9, Seagulls 10. Now, Dolphins 9, that's where it's at. I really think the 8's already been set. Seagulls 10th, West Tigers 11th, Eels 12th, Bunnies 13th, Cowboys 14th, Dragons 15th, Knights 16th, and the Titans are 17th. But it'd be remiss of me to ask Griffo, what caught your eye this week?
Well, just before I get to that, I just want to give a shout out. Don't normally do this, but to my dentist, Dr. Curry, who I visited this afternoon. I went out to Penrith. He's a big Penrith fan, and he will be listening to our podcast at some stage.
Hello, Doctor.
Great job. Yeah. I drive a long way to go to Tyndale Street Dental Clinic in Penrith, and I dare say if you've got problems with your teeth, he's your man.
The son of a dental nurse, I'm telling you now, dental hygiene is important. My mum was a massive advocate of it, and yes, dental hygiene is of the utmost importance. Brush your teeth. Not if you're a wine. Now we don't advocate. Don't like to advocate many things on this show, but if you're a wine drinker, do not brush your teeth in the evening after drinking wine. My mother always said that. Apparently not. It actually, the acid can rub away the enamel. So,
what about Captain Morgan?
Captain Morgan, I hope, is fine.
Okay.
Otherwise, my teeth are fucked. No.
All right. Well,
yes.
That said, I can't go past. This guy is sort of he's a regular on this segment, and that is Mark Nwonga Nitawase,
yes.
aka
What a performance.
Marky Mark. Phenomenal player. Every week, pretty much, he comes up with something pretty incredible. Last week, he did it again in what was an amazing second half by the Roosters, which you alluded to earlier. The Roosters winning that second half 40 points to 0. And Marky Mark was at front and centre, even though he was on the wing, with 4 tries. A number of those, it was mainly not too difficult, but there was his first one was very, very good. I can't remember who his opposing winger was, but he just he mesmerised that poor young winger from the Storm.
Yeah.
It wasn't one of their regular guys. It might have been Kane Bradley. So again, it's Marky Mark who has grabbed my eye this week. Something you alluded to also earlier, which did grab my eye. I'm not talking in a football sense, but last night I was on, I think I was on Facebook, and it was last night or the day before, I can't remember, but there was a video of a grown man with nail polish drinking water from his toilet. Now,
yeah, look,
I am a different generation. I am I may well be.
I'm sorry, I don't get it.
A bit of a dinosaur, but I don't think even dinosaurs did that. I don't understand it. I don't. I don't have TikTok or any of these things. I am, of a different generation. But what Princess Walsh stood to gain by that, I don't know. I really don't know what he was hoping to gain out of that.
E. coli. That's about all I can think of.
Yeah.
That's all I can think of.
I just don't understand. I don't get it. Like, he is one of, if not the biggest name in the game. He's got a huge number of fans, apparently. And maybe they love that stuff. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan. I got to say, I do admire his ability in attack in rugby league. He's rock solid diamonds, but he's mostly diamonds. But it seems that he's rock solid diamonds off the field as well. And we had that incident maybe a couple of months ago where he punched someone in the face on, that was supposed to be funny as well. I guess I'm a different kind of comedy.
No, I agree.
Some people found it funny. I just don't. I don't understand what positivity he gets out of it. But one of his mates went for a different kind of beverage. Gemmet Shibasaki, who has had his best year ever in the NRL. Played for Queensland, played well. He's a Broncos top try scorer. He's gone from journeyman to seriously good footballer, and he's had a slip up. At the same time that pretty much Walsh was drinking from his toilet. Yeah. Broncos, strange.
Yeah, I don't get it. I just want to, I suppose, we're going to talk a little bit. I want your thoughts, Griffo. We're going to talk about the coaching merry-go-round that's potentially going to take place. I just want to put a shout out to the Raiders. Over the years on this show, we've probably praised and put the boot into Ricky when it's always required. Look, I went back and listened to some old podcasts, like, we just went back and we're talking about Ricky back back in the day. And one of the things we were talking about is, regardless if you love him or hate him, he's someone who hides behind no one. And I remember when he took over the Canberra job, he said, "I'm accountable. I want no, I know Ferner's there in a head of football capacity, and Ferner does a great job. He says, I want no, person that can be the scapegoat. It's my team, what I do, the way I run things." And we praised him when he got in the grand final. I really got to take my hat off to Ricky Stewart. We speak a lot about coaches and potential, who's the best coach, or who's some of the best coaches of our modern era. And I think Ricky Stewart at times, put $10,000 on the table and went to town. It always came from a place, and we've joked about it, and he's been the butt of our jokes at times, rightly or wrongly, I don't know. But we've talked about how he is the guy who said the buck stops with him. And he's one of the only NRL coaches that says that. A lot of NRL coaches will hide behind recruitment, they'll hide behind heads of football, they'll hide behind a lot of things. Yet he's one guy that says the buck stops with him. He puts his hand up when he gets it wrong, and he lets everyone else know when they've got it wrong. I've really got to shout out to him and congratulate him for what he's done in getting the minor premiership. It's not an NRL premiership by any stretch of the imagination, but the ability to finish first in this competition is something that needs to be congratulated. And when you got a guy like him who actually in action says the buck stops with me, who is a massive part of player recruitment, who's also a massive player in how the juniors at Canberra work, he's part of the club holistically. I just think to myself, good on him. When they won the other week and they got the JJ Gilton Shield, I actually felt really happy for him, because whilst you can put the boot into Ricky for what he says, here's a guy who's done what most coaches haven't, and that is he's said, I run this football club from day one. He hasn't had any 10-year plans, he hasn't had anything come in, he hasn't been an incumbent on anything. He's walked in cold, and he's taken the good with the bad. When the things are bad, he says, yep, I'll put my hand up, they're bad. When they're good, and what really got me the other day, and I love leadership, that's something that when he acknowledged his players and he acknowledged the role, that the journey they've helped him on, I just thought, good on him. At the start of the year, no one picked Canberra to do what they've done, which means they've played above and beyond for themselves and for the team, and that's led by the coach. And this is a team that doesn't have a junior base, that doesn't have the things that we in Sydney have. They've got to recruit properly, and they've got to, they may have to go to Wagga, Junee, and those brilliant rugby league surrounds that they do have to get people. But you know what? They took a chance on a few things. I think the way they handled the Jamal Fogarty negotiations during the year, I think it was first class. I actually think it's, regardless if you get the player or not, the way that they handled that Canberra, that's the benchmark for that kind of negotiation. And I take my hat off to them. I think that I congratulate them on their minor premiership, and yeah, I actually think that this is, when you talk about feathers in your cap, I think Ricky Stewart, you talk about great coaches, and you talk about coaches who led teams in our competition. I know he hasn't won a premiership, and maybe not yet, but geez.
No, he has.
Well, he has with
Canberra,
with not with Canberra, sorry, with and Roosters, and I've often given my thoughts on the Roosters team. Yes. He won it with.
They should have won 3. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if he won it with, I think he was too young then. I think if he does this with Canberra, this will be a far different. This will be a far different kettle of fish. What he's done with this side, had he had this wisdom with the Roosters, they would have won 3. And I take my hat off to him and the organisation. I think that he leads, because he does lead this organisation. When he tells off the referees, he's happy to put 10 grand on the board. But yeah, I think credit where credit's due, and I think what he's done in the last 2 years has really shown a guy that, is able to build capacity, a very good club, strength within the club, and I think that, I think that everything in Canberra, apparently, everything from the horn to the Viking clap, he has, he approves. And when you look at what's going on down there, I think it's a good thing. And, you can always rest on your laurels and go, well, Canberra is a great rugby league team. Look at what they did in the 90s and early 2000s. But, what he's building now, you hope it breeds a premiership, but you know what? This is one. Yeah, I think he has created a legacy that Ricky Stewart, in my mind, when I talk about Ricky Stewart, I'm going to be talking about a coach that can do these kind of things, and I think that's a good thing. I take my hat off to him. I really do. I don't know what more to say on how highly I think he has taken this rugby league side, the way he has spoken in the media. His interview, if you guys can listen to his interview with Triple M on the weekend, it was phenomenal. It really was. He, in the past 3 years, I won't say 3 years, that's not fair, probably in the past 5 years, the way he talks to the media and everything about this side, he's built from the ground up. I think that very few coaches do that now. Coaches rely on succession plans, on heads of football, on junior recruitment policies and things like that. He has put his hand up and says, I own everything. So I think credit where credit's due, and congratulations to Canberra. Anything to add there, Griff? Well, that was fairly long-winded by me, but...
Well, yeah, I think you've covered it. He's had a great year, him and his team, and obviously well-deserved minor premiers. And they're a big chance of actually being the premiers this year. It'll be interesting to see. A lot of these guys haven't really had too much finals experience. A few of them have. But there is much chance as anyone to win this comp. I didn't originally have them in my 8. I had them close. But then when I saw them in round 1, when I came back from Vegas, I said, look, originally when I did my 8, I didn't have them in, but I definitely think they're going to make the 8. But I certainly didn't think they were going to be minor premiers. So they've had a great year, but it all starts again in 2 weeks' time. And the reality is no one really remembers who the minor premiers were. It's all about who takes home the Proven, Summons, trophy. And if they can do that, then that will be a great achievement, given that some experts did have them taking out the spoon this year. But I thought they'd really challenge next year because I knew they had a lot of young talent that they'd signed up out of the New South Wales under-19 system over the last few years. But they've been able to come through in 2025, and as I said, they're as much chance as anyone.
Let's talk firstly, Desi, parting ways with the Titans. Was that something that was on the cards, no brainer? Like, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, in a club that hasn't really done much since they came in, he's actually the worst performed coach of any. That's not a big rap. They can shed the spoon if they win this week against the Tigers. Because Newcastle, if they win, can, tie up 16th place. But it's been an awful 2 years for the Titans. I had him in my 8, which probably says I'm a bad judge, and I'll cop that. But with the players they've got there, they should be challenging the 8. It hasn't worked. It's been an abject failure. And the guy's won 2 competitions, so he can hang his hat on that. But really, in the last decade, his teams haven't done well. And he's been at a few teams in that time, and success has eluded them. He has won 2 comps, as I said, so certainly in the early part of his coaching career, he performed well. He got the Bulldogs to 2 grand finals as well. But then it sort of went down from there, and he got booted by Manly. And he reappeared out of nowhere at the Titans. No one knew he was even going for that. Like they just announced, no one knew what was going to happen. And he replaced Holbrook, and Holbrook got the Titans to a semi-final. This team, unfortunately, they just don't perform. I think I was reading where they're clearing out a number of players, including Fifita, who's to go to your club.
Thank you.
The Roosters and the Panthers who were fighting over Fifita last year, and Roosters signed him, and then he did a backflip. I think he must have hurt his ankle in that backflip because I don't know. I mean, the guy has so much potential, but I don't understand why South signed him, to be fair.
Look, you know what? I'd want to hope we do have some issues in second row. It better have been for the money would want to have been low. And that's, I don't know what.
I believe the Titans are chipping in. So
yes, I don't know what it is. The thing with Desi, and I was talking to someone about 8 weeks ago about the Titans, and the person actually got a bit shitty with me, but I said to them, the problem with Des is Des has taken the Manly perspective into Gold Coast. So Des has done these closed sessions, no media, no fans, no this, no that. At no point during this time has the fans gone out into the Gold Coast. Not like Holbrook, who would take them out into the Gold Coast, player signings, get to meet the people of the area, and the problem is not only has Des got this side where the Gold Coast community can't connect with them because he won't allow them to. That worked at Manly. If Manly have a closed session, the people of Manly go, "Oh well, that's fine." That crap doesn't work anywhere else. It only works with Manly because only Manly loves Manly. The thing with the Gold Coast is you've now got a team in the Suns who are outperforming in every KPI. In every KPI, they're outperforming the Titans. Josh Hannay is going to step into this role. The first thing he needs to do is connect this club with the community. Mate, it doesn't matter if you win, lose or draw. You have to be liked. And right now, the Gold Coast Titans on the Gold Coast aren't well liked. And Desi is the principal cause of this. I just think that, I just think, geez, he's done some damage to this club. As far as my ass points south when it sits down, they're not going to have any success. I think for the new owners of the club are not happy, and they weren't happy with Desi's approach. I think the new owners of the club want this club to be a community club. We're not going to see any success out of the Gold Coast Titans for a little while. I think they're going to work on community engagement and then recruitment. It's going to be some lean pickings for the Gold Coast Titans. Adam O'Brien also gone, Griff.
Yeah, just before we leave the Titans, I think it's embarrassing when at your home games you're outnumbered by the away team. But that's how it is.
Mate, well, I've said it on this podcast a million times when I went to the Gold Coast to watch South play. We got questioned 5 times about where we were sitting because we couldn't get seats in the South Sydney section. So anyway, I finally said to the security guard, we wanted to sit over there, we couldn't get any seats. He went, so we sat over there. So he said, no, go over there. So we sat over there. Right? We could have got those tickets in the first place, but for reasons best known to the stadium, we couldn't get them. We then went out the back to get a drink, and I was in an area with 3 other people, having a chat to them. 3 lovely Gold Coast Titans fans. They were brilliant. They were having a chat. We were having a real grand old time. I got told that I was not welcome where I was standing because apparently I was in the members only area. There was 4 of us. There was me and three other. Like, I've told this story a million times. Like, guys, embrace who comes to watch your football matches. That day there must have been 5,000 South Sydney fans. Put it on. Why not? If you get known as the club that embraces other football fans, you're not building a fortress yet. You could have, but those days are gone. You've got to buy in now. You've got to buy some credits, then build the fortress. Be known as the place that says, come. You got an away game, come and watch us. Because you know what? 18 grand, 20 grand at our stadium is going to help us to begin with. And once we get engagement, once we get that going forward, our fans will turn up. I think I've always said this Gold Coast Titans team had got it wrong from the start, and it's compounding every time something like this happens. But what do you think of the Adam O'Brien exit? His reasoning was very interesting.
Yeah, it hasn't come as a surprise. I mean, the Knights, I know they've had injuries this year, but they've almost become in the last couple of months like a second bye. That you get 2 points. You have to run onto the field, but you're going to get 2 points. They've been woeful. And as I said, I do know they have had injuries, but they may not get the spoon, but that's because the Titans just don't know how to win. I don't understand the Newcastle Knights. They've got now respected people in power in Peter Parr, who is going to be the new CEO. And he was, whatever he was, I don't know if it was head of football or it was something or other. But he's a respected guy. A lot of success at the Cowboys. He's been with the New South Wales Blues at various stages. And Peter O'Sullivan is, I won't say he's the best recruitment guy, because I don't think he is, but he's probably the best known. But
I think you know what?
He may
His
have been
diamonds are massive, but his rocks are there.
Oh, look, he's the guy responsible for signing Dylan Brown for 10 years at whatever it is, $1.3 million a year. That's just fanciful. They've got an unbalanced salary cap with Ponga, Brown. They don't have an actual halfback. They say, we're going to play Dylan Brown at halfback. Well, he showed when Moses was out this year, early in the year, he couldn't
rubbish.
lead a team around. That's not his style of player he is. They need a new coach because O'Brien can't get the best out of them. I think he's got them to the finals 4 out of the 6 years he's been there.
Yep.
Which is actually,
you know
if
what?
you just look at that, you think, gee, that's good.
I think coaching wise and being a coach to read rugby league, I don't think he's bad. I think his ability to look at player recruitment has been awful. Because there are some things that have happened at the Knights that are just woeful. And I think that a lot of the Knights' old boys are distancing themselves from this club. You know, Andrew Johns was asked to comment on the club. Oh, I've lived in Sydney for 19 years. I can't comment. Matthew Johns. Oh, well, you know, been a long time since I've been there. Anyone, Paul Harrigan. Oh, well, you know, they're going down a line, which we've got to have faith. The problem is, I don't think whatever they've done, whatever they've got in process at the moment, it's not working. And I think future-wise, it's not going to work either.
Well, they've backed themselves into a corner.
They have, Griffith. That's the word I'm looking for.
10-year signing.
Thank you. They've backed themselves
ridiculous.
into a corner. It's just silly. And they're clutching at straws with some of their best recruitment in the last 10 years has been Tyson Frizzell. And the guy is 100 and yet rips in every week in, week every game, week in, week out. Bradman Best is a shadow of his former self. I'm not saying those around him help him, but he's not the player that we once knew about. I just think that, I think Newcastle are not only are they in a... Look, the fans are behind them. Look at the weekend.
They sold out 2 weeks ago.
They have enough people who love rugby league in that city. Yeah. The fans are behind them.
My sister and husband were at that. They went to that game. They live up that
lovely. That would have been a good game. Yeah, no, the atmosphere would have been good. But it's just, I think as they're a rudderless ship at the moment, Newcastle, from the top down, and I think they just need this injection of something that there's no BS, but yet community orientated injection of someone that goes, let's move this forward. I think they've got to go left field here, and yeah, I'd be getting every Newcastle old boy under the sun to tell me what it's like being a Novocastrian. It's I think O'Brien, to be fair, probably took some of those teams. He overachieved with some of those teams, but then to say in the press conference I'm resigning because it's the best thing for the club, because the last thing they want in the first 5 weeks is the idea of me getting sacked hanging over their head. That shows that the dressing room, he's lost the dressing room, which means the dressing room has become their own. You need a head kicker in there to stop that. And I don't know if there's a significant head kicker that can do it on the market. And this is why I think, whilst some of the old boys in Newcastle are tapping out, I really think someone needs to go in there and say, you need to shut the F up and listen and do what you're told, because I don't care what coach you have. You've been told since under 6 that dropping the ball and missing tackles is not how you play rugby league, and that's how you play rugby league every week. You drop the ball and miss tackles. That's not the coach's fault. That's your you problem. And we can get every coach in here under the sun, but if you keep dropping the ball and missing tackles, well then that's an attitude thing, and you need to change your attitude. I genuinely think that regardless of the coach they get in there, they need a couple of very, very strong old boys of Newcastle to step in and stand on the nuts of the people who take the piss out of this club week in, week out.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they need to get someone in who's not there as coach. You talk of Blake Green, who's never been a head coach. He's only been an assistant at the Knights. He's been their attacking coach, and they've got the worst attack.
Yeah, that's the worst thing.
So anyone who's putting his name forward, and I listen to various things, and Brent Reed is a journo who keeps plugging Blake Green. But to me, there's a reason for that. Blake Green is under the stable of Isaac Moses.
Yeah.
Brent Reed is the mouthpiece for Isaac Moses. So I take that with a grain of salt.
I think
anyone else is saying, common sense would just tell you that your problem is attack, and you want to give the guy who organizes the attack the head coaching role. It's ridiculous. For mine, Holbrook, who's had NRL experience and did a good job at the Titans, has to be the guy.
If he's not the guy, he's, I know where he's at. He's very comfortable, but geez. Yeah, I agree with you. I think Justin Holbrook really is the guy for this club. He went into the Titans as a guy who, he can control a bunch of misfits. And I don't mean that disrespectfully, but that's where this club is at. And I think that's, yeah. I know, I was reading earlier McGregor being a possible candidate now, touted by Newcastle. I think they need someone who's proven winning NRL coach who's taken a team to the finals that shouldn't have been there, and Holbrook's the guy.
Yeah.
How that? All right, we've got some rugby league coming up.
Have we?
We sure do. It appears that way. Look, we're just gonna, I suppose, quickly discuss the NRLW. It's become an even more my computer's screen's gone now. It's become even more.
I got a lot of here. If you want me to go through it,
I was going to say it's become even more a one-sided
one horse
affair.
and one rooster
race. Can I say it's one horse and one rooster to the point where I've never seen a club at $11.50. But the Roosters play the Raiders. Roosters will win that. Dragons, Cowboys, 8th versus 4th. That's the distance between them. They're even money. I'm actually tipping at Win Stadium a Dragons win for that. Bulldogs, Sharks. Sharks will win that quite comfortably. Warriors,
Broncos. Got a lot of injuries, the Sharks.
They do.
They're sitting pretty on the ladder.
But I just think...
Massive injury toll. I was having a look at that yesterday. Or it might have been today. But they got a lot of players out. Bulldogs won their first 2 games and haven't won another game since.
No, I think they're a team on the slide. Warriors play Broncos. Broncos will win that. Knights, Titans. Knights should do the job there. Eels, Tigers. I've got the Eels winning that one, Griff. Anything different to what I've got there?
No, it's hard to...
This is going to be a Roosters.
Just go fast forward to the grand final. We know who's going to...
It's a bit... It's become a bit silly, this competition, actually, this year. We spoke about it a couple of weeks ago, and I really think that if they haven't listened, they've got to start listening, because it's... Yeah, there has... I know I come up with the tier system of players, but yeah, there's got to be something different happening. 7:50 Thursday night, tomorrow night, we've got the Brisbane Broncos taking on the Melbourne Storm at Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane. I suppose Shibasaki is out for the Broncos. Is he part of any drinking trend? I don't know. Jerome Hughes is in.
He's been more Saki than Shiba lately.
Yeah, true. Lisa Katoa, Jerome Hughes, Josh King, Nick Meaney, Kamakamika, and Xavier Coates. They are ins for the Storm. Where they will sit in the grand scheme of things is quite interesting. I suppose they're all in because we've got... I'm just going to go through the Melbourne Storm side. Pappenhausen, Warbrick, Anderson, Meaney, Coates, Munster, Jerome Hughes. Big Nelson, Bronson Garlic, Josh King. We've got Latasi, Katoa, Leo. Yeah, I always
Adavalo, Sati.
Wishart, McDonald, Kamakamika, and Chan. Because there was a few ins and outs for them. Everyone else for the Broncos is on an extended bench, and that's now been cut down. Of course, Fletcher Baker
is he's back.
Reserves, yes.
Heard from him for a long time.
Yes, long time. It's an interesting team that both of these have produced. This is massive when you consider what happened to the Storm last week. They will not want that to happen again. The Broncos want to consolidate their spot in top 4. I think the Broncos, Billy Walters, Ben Hunt has been playing some good football. Arthurs and Karapani on the wings. That'll be very interesting versing Warbrick and Coates. It's it's going to be up to what our number ones do. Reece Walsh versus Ryan Pappenhausen. The forward pack, I think, are just doing. They negate each other. I will say this though. I thought Big Nelson last week was just found wanting so many times. I think he's a player who is. I don't like saying someone's past it because that's not fair. I've never played rugby league at this elite level, but geez, last week some of his decisions were that of someone who put their hand up and said they couldn't get there, and I think the Broncos can purely expose that. I've got the Storm winning. I don't have them winning by a lot, but geez, Nelson's a guy who's going to have to put his hand up and lead from the front. And Bronson Garlic, he's going to have to do everything he can because Corey Pakes is going to have his number. Storm in a fraction, Griff.
Yeah, this Storm is on paper certainly a better side than the one they trotted out last week. They bring in their main attacking weapon, which is Xavier Coates, who wasn't there last week. Jerome Hughes is back from injury. Obviously, he is a key player in this team. As to whether he's completely over the injury, I guess we'll find out on Friday night. They also, I think Liero was out last week. Eli Katoa, who's their most damaging forward, was also out. So they had a lot of players out last week. They were way down on their best team. They're still missing Harry Grant, who is their best player. But it's a much more impressive looking side. They're resting Big Stefano this week. The Broncos, we know they're missing a few key players, but they've been winning with this side over a few weeks now. And I think they're going to challenge, but I do believe the Storm, after being hammered last week, I really do expect them to bounce back. And I think they will win this. Again, I don't think they're going to win by a lot, but I have tipped the Storm to win this game and potentially push the Broncos out of the top four. If the Storm do win, then that certainly opens it up for the Sharks and the Warriors to clinch that very important fourth place. But either of those teams, if they do, I think they'll go to Canberra and be beaten pretty soundly. But you want to be in the top four. It's the Broncos that are there. They will be fighting tooth and nail to get this game. But I do think the Storm will beat them.
6 o'clock on Friday, we see the Seagulls of the Manly Warringah kind taking on the New Zealand Warriors. Wade Egan out, Kula out for the Seagulls, Wade Egan for the Warriors. It's an interesting lineup that we see here for both these sides, in that when you look at who's playing each other, it's really difficult to pick this one. The Seagulls' attacking prowess has really been the forefront of what they've done, and their defence has been very sound as well through their forward pack. Simkin Takiaho, Waddell, Drabojevic, Jazz Tavanga, they've defended exceptionally well, especially around the middle. Last week, I thought that the Warriors against the Eels really struggled in punching through that middle. I know they went to Kurt Capewell a few times on an outside ball and then inside to see what would happen. There was just no value there. So I think defense is going to play a big part of this game, and the Seagulls have that. The Warriors will not want to have happen what happened to them last week. They would not want to see that again. They really would feel they should have won that match and would want to win this one. I just don't see it happening at home. I think the Warriors are a team that last week I saw some significant deficiencies in, and I don't think they've got the creativity to do well what they need to do. I think the Seagulls will win this. I think the Warriors' ship is sunk.
Yeah, I agree. They had Barnett go down, and that was a big loss. But the biggest loss for those guys has been Luke Metcalf, who was on fire for basically the whole year. So while Tanner Boyd's done some good things, and I've seen him, set up some tries, which this is what you want from the 7. He's certainly not in the class of Metcalf. They're missing Wade Egan again. He provides the creativity to a large extent for this team, and he's not there. I just can't see them. Look, they might beat Manly only because Manly are very inconsistent. They were good last week, Manly. Cherry Evans was on fire. I don't know, 4 or 5 try assists. So this is a big game for him. It's his last game in maroon and white. I think they will rally around him, and I do believe they will beat the Warriors. They are mathematically a chance of making the 8. Realistically, they're not going to make it, but they'll want to finish the year well. They had a good win last week, and I think they'll certainly be looking to send Cherry Evans out a winner. Interestingly, Joey Walsh will make his debut. He's been talked about for a few years as the future of the halves for Manly. We know that they've got Fogarty next year, but this guy apparently is very good. And he's getting blooded in this game from 14, so it'll be interesting to see how he goes. Their best weapon, as you mentioned, is out. Tolutau Kola. I think he did a hamstring last week after he'd scored not related to the try he scored, but it's unfortunate because he's a crowd pleaser. I love watching that guy, ball in hand, unless he's playing against my team, but he's just about as good to watch as anyone, Tolutau Kola. But as I said, Egan out for the Warriors. I'm tipping Manly. Not confidently, but I'm going to stick with the maroon and white at home.
Yeah. So on 8 o'clock on Friday, we see the Sydney Roosters taking on the South Sydney Rabbitohs. 2 big ins for either side. That is Sam Walker in for the Roosters and Cameron Murray, the captain, in for the South Sydney Rabbitohs. They're 2 massive ins for either side. We're looking at the Roosters. They've got a lot to play for, and geez, haven't they played some good football of late? South Sydney, injuries have plagued them all year. They have struggled in this last. I'll tell a lie. They struggled. They struggled in a series of games, and recently they've probably found form that they didn't have. Injuries have led to that. They've been absolutely decimated. Look, I suppose if you're a betting man, you've got the Roosters, you know which way I'm going to lean with the South Sydney Rabbitohs. It's going to be one of those games where if South can hold the ball, it's a bit like when they played against the Sharks. They could actually take the game to the Roosters. They got a few more shots to fire in Cody Walker, Cam Murray, of course, being back. Tallis Duncan in the forwards, always good out wide. Ashton Ward has shown something. Jai Gray in the fullbacks been phenomenal again. Alex Johnson's found some try-scoring form off the back of that. Jack Whiten is back from suspension. he's another one that's back. I just think that the Roosters have far more to play for, and that's the team. I think a win. However, my heart always says South Sydney's going to win. If they will win, it's about holding the football and utilising everything they've got, and 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 defending well in the forward pack. Having Kepi and Kolomatangi in as bookends helps. Tallis Duncan in the forwards always shores up that defensive role as well and creates some extra attacking flair. And when you see a side that's got Cameron Murray, regardless of where it is, it's always a good thing. Brandon Smith fighting some demons at the moment. Very lucky boy to be named. I don't like to say someone's guilty, but Jesus, a lot of trouble follows that guy, and yet again he seems to be in it. But look, head Roosters, heart Rabbitohs, Griff.
Yeah, I thought Souths were going to challenge. Then Latrell was ruled out again. I think, if Latrell was fit and playing, really, the Souths could have given the Roosters a run. And they may still. They've been very wholehearted. They do get some ins, but predominantly, I want to see Cam Murray do well. I want to see him play for Australia.
Well, that's what I'm looking at. If he can have a half decent game,
he's only got to prove his fitness.
He's there for Australia. Yep, and I agree because we need him. Geez, they're going to be pumped.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we'll go through that in the future weeks.
Yeah, but it's good to see him back. And I'm not a South fan, but I am a Cam Murray fan. I'm a rugby league fan, and I love what that guy does. His heart and soul, really, of this team. And we at the start of the year we said they're going to miss him, and then they certainly have. But he hasn't been their only injury. Interestingly, Shano, I read that they've re-signed Cody Walker.
Yep,
for next year. What are your thoughts on that?
On the money they're talking, which is fairly minimal, I'm happy.
Okay,
I think
so. It's at low money.
It's at low money. It's at low money. It's. I'm not going to say cover signing. That's not fair. It's a signing that allows him to do what he needs to do. It's something that, I suppose off the bench or whatever. It also allows him to be a mentor to those coming through. And I think that's really important. A playing mentor means a lot to young players. I think for the price and for the time, it's perfect.
Okay.
And I'm happy. I'm always happy for those 1 year cover signings that are at money less than what you'd consider market value. And he's definitely taking a pay cut from his last contract. But I think you know what? He's bought into the spirit of it and good on him, and I'm more than happy to support that because his last 3 games have been very, very good.
Yeah, he's come on and certainly made it. I mean, the guy's very, very skillful.
Yeah. So you know what? I think kudos to the management of both parties and the maturity of that they've seen, and they've played in the spirit of what I'm happy for. And when you're at that age, I think sometimes you need to do that. And hats off to Cody, because you know what? He could have chased the money anywhere. You know what? He could have. No, I'm looking at Newcastle. And rather than do that, he saw what he's about, his limitations, the player he is, and he's put his hand up, wants to stay at South Sydney. He believes that Wayne's going to deliver something big next year. That remains to be seen. look, a lot of people saying that South Sydney players are putting things in the war chest for David Fafita, but that's probably for next week's podcast. But yeah, I really applaud the management on all parties. I think it's been very sensible.
Yeah, well, just on this game, I look at this Roosters side and I think they are going to win this game. But again, the consistency has eluded them. They fell to the Eels a couple of weeks ago, but they bounced back with a massive second half against the Storm. And I think they know that they win this game and they are semi-finals bound. And I think they will win. And they pose a threat in the finals because I do believe whoever, and they're going to run eighth unless Penrith lose, but they'll come up against either a Sharks or most likely Sharks or possibly Broncos or Warriors, and I think they will beat any of those sides. Unlikely they'll play the Broncos, but it's possible. But I certainly think they got the Sharks and the Warriors covered in week one of the finals.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think they're the team that can shake it up. On Saturday, 3 o'clock, we see the St. George Illawarra Dragons taking on the Penrith Panthers at Wynn Stadium. When we talk about who's in for the Panthers, well, basically, their team's in. And the rest are out. So let's, Dragons are pretty much, I think, they've got some distance in on their bench. But let's talk about Penrith. They're fools. They're playing 1 to 17 as they would want to. Edwards, Thomas Jenkins, Isaac Tago, Casey McLean. I love Casey McLean. He is one of my favourite footballers at the moment. Not at the moment, for the last probably 6 to 8 months, I really, really love what this guy does. Alamotti, Talangi and Nathan Cleary, Leota, Kenny, Smith, Sorensen, Luke Garner, Isaiah Yeo at number 13, Schneider, Henry, Papali'i, and Matt Eisenhuth is on the interchange bench. It's basically rolling out who they should. Look, I'm not going to talk about how Penrith will win. That's your job, Griffo. I think the Dragons have no hope in this game. I think Penrith are going to find form before the finals and do it well. I think the Penrith Panthers, for me, they've had a few hiccups. They've rested players. I think what's happened in the past has made them stronger. They'll dispatch the St. George Illawarra Dragons pretty easily. Griffo.
Well, they are expected to. The Dragons now sit in 15th place after threatening the top 8. But they didn't really threaten too much. They had three buys, which sort of inflated their position, and they haven't won for a while, the Dragons. Certainly, they've not been able to string wins together. Penrith, they're 3 losses in a row. That's the reality. They had, I think, 9 wins in a row, and then they've fallen back. 2 of those losses in Golden Point, and then last week when they played their reserve grade side. But the reality is they've lost 3 in a row. They're taking this game seriously because they've put almost a top strength side in. Liam Martin and Brian To'o, who both have had injury concerns, are rested. I was a little disappointed that Luran Patea is on the extended bench. He had an injury. He came back last week. and he wasn't at his best, but he's a guy that was in really good form when Penrith were going through that winning streak before he got injured. I think he offers more than Matt Eisenhuth, who he's a great clubman. He captained the team last week, but I don't really think he offers any punch coming off the bench, which Patea certainly does. Having said that, I think the game is going to be won from 1 to 13, where Penrith do have an advantage. The Dragons have got a few injuries themselves. They're a bit of a patchwork quilt, this team now. Gutherson, who was really good early in the year, he hasn't been at his best. His legs are not getting any younger, and while he gives 100%, he's struggled a bit in recent weeks. Penrith, I do believe, will win this game, and they will really want to sharpen up for week 1 of the finals. I have a concern about injury. I don't want to see any of these guys get injured. It'd be ironic if that did happen, and I know there would be hundreds of thousands of supporters of other teams who would rejoice if that were the case. But Penrith to win here.
Yep. Wholeheartedly agree. So, on Saturday, the next game, well, this is somewhat interesting. We see the Gold Coast Titans taking on the West Tigers in a match that probably for the rest of us doesn't mean a lot, but for these guys means a lot. Jojo Fafita, Gerald Skelton out for both these sides. Alex Seyfarth in for the West Tigers, albeit on what appears to be the interchange bench. Look, Big Tino, captain for the Titans. This is harder to pick than a broken nose. It's at Seabus Super Stadium, but I just think it's the Tigers that have shown far more nous in the past few weeks, and that's led by Jerome Luai. It's when they played the Cowboys, I thought that the Tigers, that was where they're at emotionally. That you can be up, you can be winning, and concede 3 tries. I just don't think the Titans have anything in them. I've got the West Tigers winning this one, but geez, there's nothing that tells me that this is convincing. We could walk away and the Titans win by 50. Yeah, I've got the Tigers winning this only because I think that certain players like Buller, Taylor May, Taruva, Jerome Luai, Api Coruscant are going to make it worthwhile. But now you got Big Tino on the other side. I just think the Titans are misfits. This is more about feel than promise for me. I've got the Tigers winning this one.
Yeah, I actually just, while you were talking, I couldn't remember who I did tip. I had a feeling, but just went into my tips. And I noticed I tipped the Titans. I don't know if that was the right move or not, but the Tigers have shown good form in recent weeks. But I do think that the Titans, they've got everything to play for in that they want to rid themselves of a wooden spoon. And the reality is, if they do win this game, they probably will lose the spoon because I can't see Newcastle beating Para. But again, on paper, it's quite a good side, plenty of attacking flair. Interestingly, Carter Gordon, the former rugby union player, I think he'll make his rugby league debut. He's been out with injury pretty much all year, which has meant Brian Kelly, interestingly, has gone to the wing. We see Keanu Kinney back into the team, and that's forced AJ Brimson into the centres, a position that I think last year they decided wasn't going to be for AJ Brimson, but he's back there. They've got a lot of players who play similar positions that are only one spot available in that position. But if they click, they should score a lot of points. Very interesting on the Tigers side, a guy who has only, well, he's just about to do his HSC in Hamasi. My apologies if I mispronounce that name. Makasini, who I believe was a Newington College, or is a Newington College guy, his parents and he wanted to play out the GPS rugby competition before he made his first grade debut, and that's how it has panned out. But from all reports, he's a beast. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes. He normally plays in the centres. He'd be playing on the wing. Also on the Titans side, we've got the debut of Cooper Bai, who is the son of Marcus Bai, who won a comp with Melbourne.
Yep.
PNG International, possibly PNG's most famous player, Marcus Bai. Cooper Bai, we saw him play under 19s this year for Queensland, and he was very, very good. So a lot of interest around this game. And one thing I do expect, this is the 5:30 game on Saturday. If you want to see rugby league tries, you're going to see plenty in this game.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair, but I'll stick with the Titans with zero confidence. Shano.
Well, at 7:35 on Saturday, we have the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs taking on the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks. This is at Accor Stadium. In Sydney, there are a few ins for each team. Key one being Vilami Kicker for the Dogs and Jesse Ramian for the Sharks. Look, these sides, it's now or never for either of these sides, in my opinion.
Elvis.
The Bulldogs have to win this just to prove what they are in this competition this year. The Sharks, well, they're playing for a lot. The Dogs have been in a slump of late that I don't think last week's win pulled them out of. I thought early on in the game they were lackluster. I thought they were trying to play themselves into form. Hats off to the Panthers, who actually were playing some very good football. And it took some leadership from the Dogs to actually come forward and do something. Lockie Galvin has to put his hand up this week. If he doesn't put his hand up this week, the Dogs put a line through him. I thought last week he was lackluster. I thought he didn't play with the potency he should have. He was not the reason why the Dogs won last week. I think Lockie Galvin needs to prove why he's there and the Sex Bomb's not. Matt Burton needs to assist in that. It can be hard once you've formed a bond with other players. Stephen Crichton, always the consummate professional. Bronson Sherry in at centre. It's going to be a very interesting team. Reid Marnie on the interchange bench again. Tupanua as well, played well. Showed more than what he's capable of last week in the way he got dacked. Kick out back is a very important in for them. The Sharks, I cannot hang my hat on the Sharks. There's something about this side which I just cannot commit to. I've got the Dogs winning, and that's the reason why. Nico Hines just needs to take the bull by the horns, and he's just yet to do so. Udall is a very good player. I think they need to get more early ball to him, and that's got to come through Braden Trindle. Same with Ramian, and opening up to Katoa. Will Kennedy, earlier this year, I thought was a better player in this team than he is now. I think he roamed early. He did a lot of things early on in and around the ball that he's not doing now. It seems like he's hanging wide to get the ball. I think that's a poor decision by the coaching staff. He's got to get back in the middle and roam that ball football. He's a far better player when that happens. And he's got to use the lies Blake Brayley. When Blake Brayley breaks out a dummy half, he should be the person there to do that. Billy Burns and Teague Wilton in at the second row. They're going to make a bucket load of meters this week with a bucket load of tackles. I've got the Dogs with absolutely no confidence because they're at home, Griff. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm going for an upset here. I'm going for the Sharks to cause a bit of an upset. Potentially forcing their way into the top 4, where I do believe they'll go out the back door. But
I get that. I struggle with this game massively.
I think both these teams.
Yeah, they're both not
go
great.
Out the back door, but
they're both not great at the
moment. I've just got an opinion. I'm sometimes right. I'm often wrong. I don't understand why Bailey Hayward is number 9 ahead of Marnie.
Yeah, I
agree. At this point in time, Reid Marnie
is spoke about this last week.
Better hooker. Some of Hayward's workout at dummy half hasn't been cleaned. And I just don't think that's a recipe for success at this time of the year. I was really impressed with Preston last week. Obviously scored 3 tries, but he is a very good player, and I dare say he would be some sort of a chance of playing the green and gold come October and November this year. I think he'll be on that tour if he can maintain his form. Obviously, Tupanui, you mentioned, he made a difference last week when he came onto the field. I thought Galvin wasn't quite as bad as what you said. I thought he did a few good things with the ball. Obviously not perfect, but I thought, he set up at least one try and he threw a few good passes. Crichton, he had a pretty good game, but got a rap from I was watching Fox, and they were giving him a rap quite often. And, look, he is a great player, and he's got a fire this week if the Bulldogs are going to be a chance. The Sharks, I heard an interesting stat this week, a day or two ago. They have had the same spine in every game this year, which is an amazing circumstance. Kennedy at fullback, Trindle at 6, Hines 7, Blake Brayley at number 9. I was impressed before when, Shane, you were able to say Blake Brayley breaks tackles or something like that. That's a bit of a twister of the tongue, that one. I think his parents were taking the piss when they called him Blake Brayley. But anyway, I struggle with that one. But he's a good player. I think I think he should be the New South Wales number 9 next year. He's been really good for the Sharks. Probably been their best player this year. They've got punch in the forwards with Vanua Blake, Talakai coming off the bench, Hamlin Welle. The guy they're missing, obviously, is Britton Nickera. I'm not sure if he's injured or suspended, but he runs those great lines. And really, and obviously, when I neglect to say that their workhorse, number 13, Cam McInnes, who unfortunately has done I think it was an ACL. Yeah. So that's a big loss. Someone's got to take up his workload, or it's got to be shared around, because no one can do that much. But yeah, I'm going to stick with the Sharks here with no confidence.
Yeah, that's fine, because I was flipping a coin. And even as you were starting to talk, I'm like, do I change my tips?
As Michael Hutchins once said, Shano, don't change a thing.
Don't change. That's a very good song too. Well, on Sunday at 2:00 at KO Stadium in Redcliffe, we have the Redcliffe Dolphins taking on the Canberra Raiders in what is a very much depleted Raiders side. It's resting a lot of players. Ethan Strange, Hudson Young, Jamal Fogarty, Jed Stewart, Joseph Tarpany, Josh Papali'i, K.O. Weeks, Simi Saisigi, Tom Starling, and Zach Hosking is out. On the other hand, in what seems to be an interesting Herbie Farnworth named at number 22. So it'll be interesting to see if he comes in, and maybe some certain results might indicate.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about the results.
It's all about the results for this side. Canberra doing what they need to do. They're resting players. They are the minor premiers. Look, with the teams as they sit, you'd think the Dolphins should win this game. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Corey Horsburgh, he's the captain, and congratulations to him being captain here for this week. But when you look at the Dolphins side, with people like Jermaine Asako, the Hammer, Molo, Jeremy Marshall King, Kafusi, doing what they usually do week in, week out, Katoa, they should win this game. I'm not going to say they win it well, but it's going to be up to results on who plays. But in saying that, I think the Raiders are burning this one for next week.
Yeah, I agree. I do believe the Dolphins will win this game, but I'm not 100% sure. Even though the Raiders are resting a large number of players, they've still got a very good side. But the Dolphins, who potentially can make the top 8, and they won't actually know, because the Roosters play later on than... Oh, no, sorry. Take that back. We've talked about the Roosters. They will know if they can make the 8. If Souths are able to beat the Roosters, the Dolphins, the points differential is not too big. The Dolphins have everything to play for. If however, the Roosters beat Souths, I'm sure Herbie won't play.
No.
And I think just that letdown will work towards the Raiders' favour, but I am going to stick with the Dolphins here. I think they will win this game.
Yeah, I think so too. So on Sunday, the last game of the regular season, round 27, at CommBank Stadium in Sydney, sees the Parramatta Eels taking on the Newcastle Knights. Everyone has ins, but nothing worth mentioning. These two sides, 1 to 17, as we see them, look, I've got to say the Parramatta Eels have looked a far better outfit. Parramatta, if asked what team outside the 8 could probably challenge people inside the 8, maybe Parramatta's the team that can do that. Newcastle Knights are not that team. They really are playing like a side that should be last. They may or may not finish that way, but geez, they're really emulating what the Wooden Spooners would be like. The Parramatta Eels win this one very comfortably for me, Griffo. I just think they're far too strong.
Well, on form they are, yeah. Interestingly, that Dylan Brown, who didn't play last week, has been called in to play in the number 6 jersey, which I think is a good thing from Coach Riles to, because he's leaving the club. He's not bringing him in to play in the centres or off the bench. He's saying, okay, here, this is your last time you'll ever wear the number 6 jersey, Parramatta, and go and play well. And it's ironic that he's coming up against the team he's going to join next year. But everything points to a Parramatta Eels victory. They're playing at home. They're in form. They're playing a team who's, well, they do have a little bit to play for, possibly if the Titans are able to get a win. Essentially, the Knights will have to win this game, or at least get 1 point to avoid the spoon. And they won't want the spoon, but I can't see them winning here. It's Eels to win.
Excellent. So that's it. The way it was for the last round of the competition coming up. Griffo, is there anything you'd like to add?
Well, I would like to say that I would acknowledge you, Shano, who've been frustrated by Zoom.
It was annoying me this week, but it's okay.
To get this thing up and running, and eventually you were successful. There's 2 things in life that stress me out. Actually, there's probably more than 2, but there's 2 main ones. One of them is traffic, which I experienced earlier today on my way to try to get to the dentist, and I was late. But the second thing that I find extremely frustrating is technology that doesn't work as you would like it to work. And you were able to break through that barrier and get Zoom happening. So we got a podcast to put out tonight. So well done, Shano.
Anytime.
I do want to say also that I want to thank all of our listeners tuning in. Obviously, it's not our last podcast for the year, but it's our last podcast where we will be discussing a full round of NRL Telstra Premiership. Next week, we will go into finals mode. The makeup of what the finals will be was, you said at the top of the podcast, we know that 1 and 2 are locked in. We know that the Bulldogs will be third. There is a possibility that the Broncos could fall out of the 4th spot, but most likely they'll stay there. And then, it's a matter of
the rest
5 and 6 who get the whole semis.
I'm excited because the rest is mathematics, and I think we're going to be in for a really interesting final series.
Yeah. But it's always good when you don't know who's actually going to make the semis coming into the last round. It's possible that things could change, but it's unlikely. But it is ideal when you've got a number of teams still vying for spots. But the Roosters, they'll probably lock up position 8 with a victory over South. So thanks, listeners. We love you listening to us, and for us, it's something we love doing. We were doing this long before it was ever recorded. But
by the water cooler.
Yeah, but also out in the bush on those
100%,
various
yes.
walks around Blaxland back in the day.
Yes.
Just and talking footy, and some people actually listen to us now. So thank you for that.
Thank you for that. Take care, everyone. Have a great week, and forward next week we'll talk about the finals. Good night, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.